This is Barry Katz. Who's Barry Katz? Anyway, and you're watching Comedy Matters TV.
So it's non-stop here at the Hyatt, man, at the 30th anniversary for JFL. We just came back from Andy Kindler's alternative show, James Adomian. It was just a crazy show. Joe Mandy was there, and Chelsea Peretti killed it. Come into the lobby. Who's here? Barry Katz. What's up, Barry?
How you doing, brother?
I'm doing amazing, man.
Fantastic. You're like Vegas. It's unbelievable.
I know, it's crazy, right? It's great. It's my brand.
Tell me something. I know you're here to interview me, but I actually want to ask you a question.
Yeah.
Because you've had a lot of stories, a lot of things that have happened to you in your life. If there was like one story or one holy shit moment that happened to you in your career and they were all drowning in the ocean, you could only save one, what would it be for the viewers right now?
Oh my God, that is amazing. That's such a hard one to say.
You're on camera.
I know, I'm thinking, I know, the pressure is on. I know, and I'm thinking that it could be the time when
besides this interview,
when Jack Rollins said to me, "Why didn't I ever manage you?" And I didn't know whether to be really happy about it or to jump off my terrace. Because I said, "Jack, I didn't know that it was my place to ask you." I said, "Is it too late?" And he said, "Yes, I'm almost 90." And I think it's too late. I'm not doing that much anymore. I said, I really didn't know how to respond to that because I had just written a script and I sent it to him. It was called I Am Woody, and it was about a mob boss who was obsessed with Woody Allen. And when I first started writing comedy, Woody read my material, and he gave me my inspiration. He said, "You're very visual, and you should think of writing films." And it took me years to do that, but I did. I made films out of that early material. And Jack was always a supporter of mine and sent me up to Herb Sargent. And you know, when Herb saw my material, he said, I don't even have to look at your material. If Jack Rollins says you're funny, you're funny. You know? And I've had so many of those moments, but when he said that to me, when I sent him this I Am Woody script, he said to me, there are things in here that Woody could have written himself. He said, I love the script. And that's when he said, why didn't I ever manage you? But it made me sad because in the days when I was up at Jack's office, that's when he was handling Robin and Billy. And
it was sometimes you should know that when people say something, there's how you heard it, how he meant it, and then there's what actually transpired. And so that might have been just a compliment to you, like saying, hey, look, you are so great now. Why didn't I manage you? It wasn't about you asking him. It was about him saying, hey, you're doing it. You're making things happen. And it was a compliment like, hey, you're so good, I should have managed you.
Well, that's a nice way of looking at it, but you know how comedians are. We're always, we belittle ourselves. We have no self-esteem. I'm always thinking, he could have managed me. My life would have been so different. I have a wonderful life. I'm not complaining, but it was always a dream of mine to work with Jack. And, you know, he had helped me so many times. He called Rob Burnett once on my behalf, right? And he said to me, I don't know if anyone will still know who I am. And I said, Jack, if I have to be the one to tell you, then I'll be the one to tell you. You're an icon. You're a legend in show business. He will know you. He called Rob Burnett. Rob Burnett called me at home. That's the power that Jack Rollins had. And he said, Jack told me that I should...
People had home numbers, by the way.
Yeah, right. When they had home numbers. That's right. So I didn't know how this turned into an interview.
You.
He beeped me, and I was playing music on my 8-track tape player at the time, which I carry in my fanny pack, which I still wear occasionally.
I just got to tell you something. There's something about you that always blew me away, and this is, you don't mind if I share this with you?
No, I don't mind at all. As long as you don't end it with, why didn't I ever manage you? Because
that was
I don't know if I can handle
that was my callback. I don't... You have so many callbacks. You have like callback waiting. It's incredible. But what I was going to say is that I always, you know, there's always perceptions of people of how they are and what they're doing, and I can share something honestly with you because I've known you for a long time,
Yeah, right.
and I always saw you around comedy everywhere, the roast, the Friars Club, around comedians, great comedians, new comedians. You're always in there. But I'm being honest with you when I tell you this. This is how naive I am. I never really understood what you actually were doing or how you were creating the relevancy you were creating within the business. I never had an understanding of it. I never was able to identify it or put my finger on it. And then when I got the book that you sent to me about the comic strip, and I was just looking at it and the enormity of it, the fact that this franchise, this 35-year-old franchise, who could have anyone in the world represented as a writer and as a cultivator of the material, and they chose you. They gave you the chance to do that, and that's like a young comedian getting Letterman, the validation stamp of comedy. And so when I got that book, even though it was just recently when you asked me to put a quote on it, right then and there I realized the enormity of your career and the amazing respect that you have within the community from all different levels of people in the business. And I wanted to tell you that I'm honored that you gave me the book, and I want to tell you that I'm really embarrassed that I really never had an understanding of what it was that was happening with you, and now I do. Let's face it, from when you started doing this, there's a lot of people who went home. There's a lot of people who, for whatever reason, they gave it their best shot, and this business, you know, kicked them in the nuts or the vagina too many times. And they just said, fuck it, I'm not going to do this anymore. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure, even though I don't know, I'm sure you've had your punches. I'm sure you've been knocked down. Yeah. And I think one of the things that I can say about that, which I shared to somebody recently, is the fact that, yeah, I hope you don't mind me giving this example. Like, I was watching the Manny Pacquiao-Timothy Bradley fight, mm-hmm. and I'm watching this young man get the shit kicked out of him.
Which of the two young men?
Timothy Bradley. Okay. Get in the middle of the ring, and it's like, and the decision goes to Timothy Bradley. And I thought to myself, this is a metaphor for everyone in our business, because it was found out a day later that this guy broke his ankle in the 4th round. He was getting beaten. He thought to himself, even as positive as he was, that he was getting beaten. But he still kept fighting and still kept punching, and it turned out that he won the fight. He won the fight because he put himself in a position to win the fight. And that's what you do. You put yourself in the position to win the fight. And with that book, it's just a validation stamp that you persevered and you have won. And that's what's so an example of anybody doing comedy, you know. I love it when people, you know, they look at, let's say, Louis C.K., wow, an overnight sensation. Yeah, a 26-year overnight sensation. It's like, but what he did was he always got up and he wrote. No matter how down or depressed or how upset or how great things were going or positive or anything in between, he got to his computer and created for himself. I was telling a story recently. Nick Swartzen came in my office when he was 19 with a backpack on a Saturday and says, I have to fax something. Yes, Jack Rollins, I have to fax something. He pulls out a spiral notebook. You know those kind of notebooks where you rip the thing and all the shit comes down? Yeah. He had handwritten a screenplay. Not typed, he hand wrote a screenplay. It was called Suckers. And we're faxing it page by page. I said, who are we faxing this to? Jamie Kennedy. And what happens? It becomes Malibu's Most Wanted. And this little kid who is a teenager, who's not even in the business, who was writing for himself, got a movie made. Wow. And the thing about you is, good, bad, whatever, you get up and you fucking write. You write that blog, and before that you wrote other things, and you just kept creating and kept creating and kept doing. And so it's a metaphor for our business, not just these comics, but every time you walk around here, you're an example of that for these people, that you just never fucking let anything get to you. Just keep going and you keep persevering, and that's what you're doing. And now with this book, just your own real holy shit moment. That's much respect.
Do you mind if I give you a hug? That is amazing. That was one of the nicest,
I'm gonna have to tell my wife about that hug.
Yeah, really, seriously. That was one of the nicest moments that I think that I've ever spent in comedy. So if anyone else asked me what would be like a lifetime moment, I could almost replace my Jack Rowland story with that.
Wow. Could have represented him.
It's not too late.
You got to be so proud.
I am, and I'm honored to have you on it. Absolutely. I mean that from my heart.
Well, that'll be up to the publisher to decide.
I'm giving you another hug.
Another hug.
Another hug. It's a two-hug interview.
How many two-hug interviews?
None. This is it. This is it, right? This is it.
Has he had any one-hug? How many one-hug interviews? I'm very competitive.